Hi, this is Meredith with the Cedar Rapids Public Library, and I found myself in the last several weeks having moments where I just spontaneously start crying listening to Crosby, Stills, and Nash in my kitchen, and it kind of got me thinking, in such an interesting time, what are these things that kind of are my triggers? And I found a lot of it had to do with happy memories, which is interesting, and the memories that I'm creating with my family right now. You can probably hear them in the background. I thought that I would share a couple things with our beautiful patrons regarding making memories. In a former life, I was an archivist for the National Park Service, and so collecting and sharing memories are something that's very near and dear to my heart. But it got me thinking, what is the stuff that we're in right now? Especially, this is a very memorable time, but this everyday life that we live, what are the memories that we take with us? And it got me really full of anxiety. I'm not making enough memories right now. But that's not true. And I kind of did a little bit of research to understand why we have memories a little bit, and what we retain, and then how we make memories. And then I also kind of looked into different ways to save some memories that are really appropriate for right here and now. So stick around and we'll talk a little bit about memories, and I'll do my best not to cry. I promise that I'll do my best, but I can't promise that I won't cry. Okay. So these are my people. I'm really lucky to have a lot of family memories, both because I have these physical representations of people in my life, but also I grew up in the town where my mom grew up, which is where her dad grew up, where his dad grew up. I can walk to my grandmother's house and walk past the house where my great-grandfather lived and where my great-grandmother would park her horse when she came into town to go to school. But these are other people's experiences. They're other people's memories. And so I started thinking about what are the memories that I'm creating now with my family or with my friends even. Even if we can't be together, there's still some memorable things to take from here and now. And what does that really mean? And this is where the anxiety starts. I'm not living purposefully enough. I'm not doing enough, right? Wrong. Let me tell you. I've done some research. And so there's a woman, Jessica Smart. She's apparently a very famous blogger. I need to catch up with the outside world. But she has a really great book called Memory Making Mom. And I have it referenced at the end of this presentation. So if you want to check it out digitally from the library, you certainly can. But her whole approach is that we need to relax and live in our lives, and all the important stuff rises to the surface. So her approach is that we can't do it all, but we can make our own beautiful memories. And in the introduction to her book, she writes something to the effect of, we are the people who have snotty-nosed toddlers. We have oatmeal-crusted bowls in the sink. We're the ones that have piles of projects in our house because we're living life. And that's really important. And that's where these memories come from. And so, through purposefully celebrating our milestones or creating new traditions or even just making everyday things a little bit different, breaking the script, so to speak. That's how we're creating these memories that will last a lifetime, in effect. And overall, what I've seen is sometimes the hardest of advice, is to live in the present moment. I think at the end of the day, the things that we're going to remember are the things that really speak to our lives, right? When we look back at our experiences, or our friends, our families, look back on these experiences that we've shared, it's going to be a picture of how we've lived our lives. And so if you kind of take a step back and think, how do I want my partner or my kids or my third cousin removed to remember me, our life together, and our experiences that's probably the stuff you want to work on first. Eric Bakker is another author that has some interesting perspectives on memories. And he has a theory that memories come from three things: sensory experiences, they come from having high stakes involved, and breaking a script, right? So sensory, stakes, and script. And what that means is that if you think about it, memories that we have oftentimes involve smells, or the way something tasted, or the way something felt, for better or for worse. Also, it's when the stakes are high. You're involved in something that's stressful, or it's a struggle where everybody's working together, or it's something that could really change the whole direction of your life. It's hard to say. Those are pretty important things to creating memories. And also breaking the script. When you go out of your way to do something just a little bit different. I feel like an example is getting out fancy tea party things. Especially now, right, when we're stuck at home. Change your dinner up a little. Use the fancy plates. Light some candles. It doesn't matter who you are to make that an interesting and different experience that you're going to remember. I think that part of living in the moment is not having your phone out all the time and being ready to capture those moments. But can I tell you, I am a huge offender of, just a second, let me take a picture of that. I have this terrible fear that I'm going to forget everything. All these moments are so beautiful. All of us humans are so beautiful, and I just want to capture everything. And I think most people already have wrapped their head around some tools that they can use to make digital memories shared and saved. Like if you have, depending on what kind of email you might have, or what kinds of photo saving things you have. I know that Google Photos will back up all your pictures from your phone automatically if you have a Google account. Pretty easy, right? You can upload them to Google Drive or any other kind of cloud storage and share them easily. I know I've created emails for my children and share our family pictures with their email addresses, so someday they'll have an entire collection of their entire life through my cell phone pictures, whether they want it or not. But on the same page, so to speak, it's so easy to have an app where you can just upload photos and make photo GIFs, or even put videos online to share too. I know I have quite a catalog of babies' firsts and things like that on YouTube. I don't think anyone's going to be watching them for some time, except for me and my kids late at night laying in bed, because that's something we do. But I think a lot of folks know about those things, but I wanted to share a couple things that I thought were fairly interesting that were happening here and now and might not always be accessible otherwise, and I think really kind of help contribute to our cultural fabric and what gets retained in our cultural memory as well. So going back to the archivist over here, I firmly believe in everyone participating in their own histories and creating their own histories, because otherwise other people write your history. So I'm a big fan of Storycorps, and I think that over the course of time that Storycorps has been in effect, the short story sharing that has gone, and it's its own organization, but you hear a lot on NPR or other places, Storycorps stories, right? And they're archived in the American Folklife Collection at the Smithsonian. So not only is it an opportunity to share some stories, ask some thoughtful questions to people that you care about, but also it really becomes an archive of our country. And I think that's a really important thing that everyone can contribute to. But let me show you. There are some really incredible lists of questions that you can ask one another. And there's some listed on this slide, but it's just amazing to me the questions that they've already come up with that you can send either in a letter, or you can ask someone in person, or there are some pretty amazing things like the Storycorps app that you can put on your phone so that you can do audio interviews back and forth with people. And they have tips for recording too if you really want to make a high quality professional sounding interview. But also, now they have Storycorps Connect. It's a project that they rolled out on the quick because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And what it is, it's a video chatting platform so that you can have a visual as well. And that's a really great resource, and it's so easy to use that I think that it's especially worthwhile if you're connecting with people that you haven't in a while, or as older adults and other people in our lives that might not have been tech friendly before are kind of forced into it. This is kind of a happy accident of figuring out how to video chat. Now you can ask all these incredible questions and get some incredible answers from incredible people. So those are some fun things that I think are worth checking into if you're interested in saving some memories right now. Now, there's some other things you can do, which I think are kind of fun, just for projects. I don't know. I think that my kids are really into technology right now, and the idea of helping them explore technology that is of an ancient sense, like the rotary phone, is kind of interesting. You can ask, we could ask my grandma or my parents or other grandparents in our family about using rotary phones and what all that entailed and how you called on a party line, things like that. Or, we would make applesauce in the applesauce ricer. My great grandma apparently was the best apple peeler this side of the Mississippi. That's what I hear. Or even things like a coffee pot that was used, it's sitting right above me actually, that was used in my husband's grandmother's diner. I have never seen a coffee pot like that before. So those are kind of fun things to do. And maybe, it could turn into a history project of some sort, depending on what depth you want to get into it. Now, on that same note, if you want to dig a little bit deeper, the Cedar Rapids Public Library has some really interesting digital assets that you could be using to help deep dive into your memories and really kind of set them into context. So what I have done here, this totally beautifully 1980s photograph is of me, your librarian, and my parents and my little brother. And the images that I have with it are the front page of the newspaper on the day I was born. So I was born in the 5 o'clock hour in the morning, and so I'm not sure if my parents read the paper that day, but economic recession on the day your first child's born is not the best news in the world. So I'm not sure if they got that or not, but there was nothing they could do about it at that point, right? So you can find out some interesting stuff contextually about the world you were living in, or go a little bit further. Like the page underneath is a request for compensation for World War II that my grandfather filled out. His handwriting's on it and everything. It's pretty amazing. So there's some really interesting databases that you can access from home. And right now the library is still closed. You can access Ancestry.com from home as well. So I would take advantage of that while it lasts. And we do have some other digital assets for you too. Like in terms of these 3 books right now, you can get on Hoopla or off of Overdrive, depending. And it's about thinking about happiness and what it takes to make memories. And then the Jessica Smart book that I had mentioned earlier that gives you some more like logistical ideas about how to implement fun things in your life. I'm always open to that, but with a relaxed angle. And then if you're the scrapbooking type, different ways to create visual representations of your memories as well. And all of this is available with your Metro Library Network library card. So if you don't have access to it, or need help using it, please give us a call. As always, we're here to help. So from all of us here at the Cedar Rapids Public Library, thanks for watching.